Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today I will be continuing my ranking the player characters of Critical Role, this time with Laura Bailey's characters, so Vex, Jester, and Imogen. Those are the only three I'll be talking about today because the rest are all one-shot characters and honestly don't need to be talked about, in my opinion. I mean, the only other one that I could really talk about a little bit, and even not that much, would be Farrowin from her character in the Darrington Brigade. But I don't feel like I need to do that. I'm just going to focus on campaign characters. So yeah, let's get into this list. And in third place, I have Vex Alia from Vox Machina. Now, unfortunately, I think Vex is probably the weakest Vox Machina character. She falls to the wayside for a lot of characters. Everyone else seems to come before her. I can't recall too many major character moments for her, and her growth throughout the first campaign isn't that noticeable. She goes from greedy person with only, her brother and her survival and Trinket's survival in mind, until the end where she is still a greedy person, a little bit less greedy, to having Vox Machina and a little bit of Taldore, its well-being in her mind. And I don't know, to me, she doesn't grow all that much. She doesn't change. Her relationship with characters feel, for the most part, stagnant, unless it's, Percy. That was about the only major change from beginning to end. Everyone else felt rather similar. I guess Keyleth and her were at a little bit of a tense point at the beginning, but toward the end, they were sisters. They had that strong sisterly bond, which, if you didn't look at it in a negative way, it's the same sort of bond they had at the beginning, just they had a little bit of tension. And she's one of Laura's earliest characters, probably her earliest character, if I remember correctly. So this makes sense that she went from this character to two really good characters, in my opinion. And this character isn't bad by any means. She's still fun to watch role play. She's still incredibly interesting to have her backstory explained a handful of times throughout the game, and, when that stuff does come up, it is fairly interesting, like with everything involving Singorn, to me is fairly interesting. Outside of that, I didn't find her to be a compelling character all that much. And I brought it up for Beauregard, so I have to bring it up for her. Her class is god-awful. Beastmaster Ranger is, without a doubt, actually bad. I don't like Monk for my own various reasons, but this Ranger class is awful. When it first came out, when 5th edition first came out, this class dragged Ranger so bad that it was one of the least played classes, and it was considered the worst class, even though Monk is sitting right there. And, Trinket died every other combat session, and part of Critical Role is combat. And when there isn't that much to enjoy from a character in combat, to the point where she had to multi-class into a significantly better role as a rogue, you kind of have, a bad character until that point, combat-wise. Wasn't a big fan of her combat until she started dipping into rogue a little bit. Thank goodness that was only, I think she did that first in, the first 30, but I'm not terribly sure. But yeah, I just think that she's kind of the weakest of Laura Bailey's characters. I do think that Vox Machina, Legend of Vox Machina, has gone to add more to her. She became sort of the leader of the group, but I'm talking about the campaigns, not the show. So I'm not taking that into consideration here. I don't hate the character. I like the character. She's perfectly fine, and she has a very strong relation to one of my favorite characters in Percy. So she's not the best of Laura's characters, but she's not the worst character to ever be in Critical Role. So, yeah, there's that. At number 2, I have Imogen. And Imogen, to me, is a good example of someone going from, a first player character to someone who's played a million. Because Imogen is a so much more interesting character just right off the rip than Vex is. She has mystery surrounding her powers. She has mystery surrounding her family, where she's from, her connection to the world itself with Ruidus, and potentially being a Ruidus born. Her relationship with characters is far more integral to what she's doing. Her relation with Laudna directly impacts her, especially as episode 23, where Laudna and her trust led to her losing her comfort item. That is interesting. Right off the rip is a much more interesting dynamic than anything Vex had. However, I will say this character has a ton of room to grow even still. She has a confidence issue that I really enjoy about her. She is very insecure about herself and her powers and not understanding what she's doing with them. And as she grows with her power and she's able to learn more stuff, she's growing more confident. When she started flying in episode 24, that was awesome because the character felt powerful and you could feel that in Laura's roleplay. And to go with it, her relationship with certain characters is awesome. Her and Laudna's relationship is the driving force for me to really watch. Not true. It is one of the driving forces for me to really watch Critical Role Campaign 3. I love everything, but that is the spearhead to me. That is the most interesting thing we have in Campaign 3, is their relationship, because it is one that is on moments from teetering off and spiraling into one of the two characters potentially going down an extremely dark path. They're both very volatile characters, and their relationship together is extremely interesting. In her relationship with other characters, I think she's got a good one kind of growing with Chetney. It's a very jokingly, I don't want to say father-like, but it's stepfather-like if it's a positive stepfather relationship. And I'm very intrigued by how she's going to grow with the rest of the cast, especially now that she's kind of pushing away from Laudna. I'm very intrigued to see where this character goes because there is unlimited potential. I feel like out of all the characters, she's the one that could potentially turn evil. And I find that extremely compelling to watch because with her confidence right now, that could lead to a road of arrogance. And I think that would be really interesting to see her go down. And because of this potential limitless path that I see for her, I find her to be an extremely fun character to sit down and watch. And number one is obviously Jester Levore. She is Laura's best character. She is amazing. She is fun, chaotic, has really powerful, meaningful moments throughout her entire journey. Her journey from becoming someone who wants to be just like her mother and experience the things she experienced and a little bit more as an adventurer, and to go on to find someone she loves and to care for them and to stay with them, to becoming someone who realized that she can't be a carbon copy of her mother and that her adventure will come to her once she becomes the person she is. And Jester, as a character, holds some of the most amazing, funny, and great moments, classic moments that I will be able to go back to Campaign 2 and watch a million times over. And all of those things, classic, funny, great, can be summed up in Cupcake. And that is perfect. And her relationship with a million characters is just amazing. The Gentleman, her mother, Ford, Artagan, all of these characters, even Essek, she is the driving force to what made Essek a good person. She was the first one to sort of stand up and be like, hey, want to come over? She is an amazing character. She has the power to make people like her. And it was amazing. And her bubblegum pop, happy persona as she went through everything, being a mild facade for a portion of the campaign, was an awesome role-playing experience to watch. Her character went from being someone who was not necessarily unsure of who she was, but wanting to, believing she wanted to be something, and then became someone way better at the end. And her character is just the most entertaining as you watch. You can't not watch Laura the whole time for Campaign 2. If you take away from her, if you look away from her for a minute, you're missing something. She was so perfect in this role, and there was so much just Laura Bailey spewing out of her, with her dick jokes, as Laura Bailey is to do with dick jokes. It is a mixture of a fantasy character and parts of Laura just melded together, and that is Jester, and Jester is awesome. And her, using Jester to pull Travis out of a comfort zone that he had, which was pulling him away from not romancing and making him romance, was great. And the relationship with Ford and Jester is possibly my favorite relationship, because it's not a matter of will they or won't they, it's when. Because you just knew, I just knew from the beginning, once they started having some flirts, that eventually it would happen. And that was a fun mini story to watch. And her story with Artagan when they went to Rumble Cusp and potentially, leaving the group and going with Artagan was a powerful moment. And she just had these powerful moments hidden behind what would look at a silly character. And it's, in my opinion, the best way a joke character, because she's not really a joke character, even though she has joke character-like tendencies, it is the best joke character ever, because she's not truly a joke character. She's a serious character hidden behind a joke character facade. And I loved it. She's an amazing character, the best Laura Bailey character, and I don't think Imogen's going to be able to top it. Imogen is a good character, but has a huge mountain to climb, and that mountain is covered in dust of deliciousness. There is no beating Jester. And there you have it, my ranking of Laura Bailey's characters from least favorite to favorite. I like them all, with varying degrees, obviously. Don't dislike any of these characters, just to put that out there. So yeah, this is my list. Let me know if you agree. And I know there's going to be some people. I expected people to defend Monk. I do not expect people to defend Beastmaster here. And if I see any, I'm either calling BS or you are extremely in love with the flavor that class brings. And I will admit the flavor is interesting, but the class itself is not good. So, yeah, I don't expect too many people to defend that class. I will be shocked if people actually do. So anyway, this was my list. Next Friday, we'll be returning to regular review stuff because Critical Role is finally coming back with episode 25, and I am just over the moon with, I'm over ruidous with all of this. I've been in love with Calamity. I enjoyed the one shot, but I am so ready to see the Bell's Hells return, and yeah, let's get into it. See you guys then. Peace.